Okay, so we'll discuss about virtual machine skill set. Virtual machine skill set. What is meant by virtual machine skill set and why we need it and how we can do that. We'll discuss it. So, as of now, we discussed like we have a single VM, we have a virtual machine. For example, this virtual machine having a code, this virtual machine having a code, and this virtual machine having a configuration of two virtual CPUs and 4 GB RAM. So this is the option. Now, for example, similarly, I have kept my code as Flipkart here, and I am running this from the internet. If I access that server, it is able to access and it is able to serve the traffic. This is absolutely fine. But now, for example, this Flipkart application where you hosted on the VM with this certain configuration having a capacity of only 10,000 requests per second. So this is the uh, capability or this is the capacity of the configuration which we have chosen. So every day Microsoft receiving, sorry, this Flipkart receiving 10,000 requests. So the server is fulfilling those requests. This is absolutely fine. But all of a sudden, this Flipkart announced one deal, one sale. So in that scenario, as per the normal request, you may receive more requests. For example, instead of 10,000 requests, you may receive 50,000 requests per second. In this scenario, what is the option you have? What is the server you have that has the capacity to serve only 10,000 requests? But if you want to serve 50,000 requests, then you have to increase your server configuration. Okay, you have to increase your server configuration. So to increase the server configuration, there are two possible ways. Two possible ways. One is you can increase this server configuration 5 times, like you are receiving requests 5 times higher than the initial request. So similarly, you can increase this virtual machine capacity from 2 virtual CPUs to 10 virtual CPU and 4 GB RAMs to 20 GB RAM. Okay, this is called vertical scaling. That means without disturbing your server, you are increasing your size from 2 virtual CPUs to 10 virtual CPU, 4 GB to 20 GB. So within the server itself, you are increasing the server configuration from 2 virtual CPUs to two virtual two virtual CPUs to 10 virtual CPU, you are increasing. So this is called vertical scaling. But I will replicate the same scenario. I will replicate the same scenario. How? For example, I have one server with two virtual CPU. So I will keep four more servers with same configuration. That also comes all together. That also comes as five virtual CPUs only. Na? This is two virtual CPUs and this is also two virtual CPU and this is also two virtual CPU and this is also two virtual CPU and this is also two virtual CPU. So altogether comes to 10 virtual CPUs only. So this concept we used to call it as horizontal scaling. So horizontal scaling is nothing but you need to keep parallel server or similar kind of server beside the same server. So this is called horizontal scaling and this is called virtual scaling. Okay. You said about you're talking about 50,000 requests per second. Okay, that's absolutely fine. So I will choose either vertical scaling or I will choose horizontal scaling. So if you choose vertical scaling, it's absolutely fine. There is no need of changing the code and you can increase the configuration from two virtual CPUs to four virtual CPUs. That is absolutely fine. But but till what extent will you increase? Till what extent you will increase? If it is 50,000 requests, then you will increase up to 10 virtual CPUs. You will increase 5 times. What about I am getting 1 lakh requests? What about I am getting 2 lakh requests? So every VM having certain limit for the configuration. There is a certain limit. Till that limit only, you will increase it. Okay. Beyond that, no, you don't have any other option. Okay. So in that scenario, you have to opt for horizontal scaling only. So if you come to the horizontal scaling, okay, you said, okay, if you have a 2 lakh request, okay, I'll keep 100 servers like the parallel. That's absolutely fine. But you have a code in one server. For example, you have this code in single server, and this IP is mapped with DNS. This IP is mapped with DNS. There is a DNS here. Within the DNS, you have mapped your www.flipkart.com with an IP address of 2.2.2.2. For example, you can say this server IP is around 2.2.2.2. Now, if you are increasing your server vertically, there is no need to change anything because the same server altogether you are increasing the size. But what about if you are keeping the things in parallel? In this scenario, if you want to maintain this scenario, this server having an IP address of 2.2.2.2 initially. But if you create one more server, what about the IP address? It could be vary. What about the code? How you need to put your code? Okay. What about one more server? How you deploy your code to here? So within the span time, within the short period of time, in that period only. So if you want to maintain this infrastructure, or if you want to create similar server, and if you want to put your code, and what about the IP address? If you come to the DNS altogether with a single host name, you can map single IP only. What about the servers? In this scenario, you need to maintain one more device called load balancer. You need to host this load balancer, and this load balancer having one IP, and this load balancer having one IP called 3.3.3.3, for example. So I will map my DNS to this 3.3.3 instead of 2.2.2. And then whatever the servers I am creating, all the servers I need to add it to the load balancer backend. So is that really possible within the short period of time? You need to create all this much infrastructure, and you need to all this load balancer and all this stuff. Okay. Anyway, you are added. So you spent around 30 hours or 15 hours, or you recruited 4 to 5 engineers. That's absolutely fine. Okay. And this sale is completed today, and tomorrow you have only getting 10,000 requests. What should you do? You need to cut down whatever the infrastructure you created, and you need to remove this load balancer. And again, you need to modify, you need to update to this 2.2.2. How much time it will take? Still, you will need certain time to destroy that infrastructure as well. So this is anyway risky, and you can't do that. You can't do that. So if it is 2 lakhs requests per day, you recruited engineers and they created 20 servers, but all of a sudden 50,000 requests more increased. 2 lakhs becomes 2 lakhs 50,000. You can't expect that in the within the short period of time. It will be a bit difficult to create the infrastructure and to add it to the load balancer. And if something is goes down, then immediately you need to destroy your infrastructure because everything needs to be paid. So every server, whatever you created, every device you utilized, each and everything needs to be paid. So, for example, I don't want to destroy this. And the next November or next December, I want to announce one more sale. So I want to keep all this infrastructure. No, right? Because these 2 months you need to pay huge cost for this entire infrastructure. Okay. So we are using the same code. We are using the same code, and you are using the same configuration and everything. So why should I manually go and manually create all this infrastructure? Is there any way to deal the VM itself? It will create multiple copies. If something just goes down, then it will reduce that copies. Is there any way? Within a single IP address only, within the single IP address only, it has to deal it. Is there any way? Yes, there is a way. It's a concept of virtual machine scale set. The scale in the IT industry, the scale means increasing and decreasing. That is the concept of scale in IT industry. Scaling means you are increasing or decreasing. That's the concept of scale. Now we'll discuss in detail about virtual machine scale set. For example, if you replicate the same scenario, so this is the internet, and instead of VM, you created virtual machine scale set. You created virtual machine scale set. So with this virtual machine scale set, what exactly it will do? It is also a VM. It is also VM. While creating the virtual machine scale set, it will ask you the instance count. Instant count. So how many instance count I required? Okay. So within the VMSS, you have an option of instance count. So for example, I want to maintain two instant count. So it will maintain two replicas of it will maintain two replicas of the VMs. So it will take care of adding to the LB. It will take care of copying the code from one server to another server. It will take care of everything. You don't need to worry about it. And this concept is about manual scaling. Manual scaling. So if you require two servers at a time, two instances running at a time, you will go and manually set up two. So I need three. Yes, you manually go and rename two to three. You will get three instances running. This is about manual scaling. But if you use the manual scaling, one person need to go and need to increase or a decrease based on the request received. Instead, there is one more concept called automatic scaling, automatic scaling or dynamic scaling. What is meant by this automatic scaling? What exactly it will do? Within this automatic scaling, it will ask you few options, that is minimum number of instances and maximum number of instances, and every time if something is issue, how you can get it, how you can get to know the load is increasing, you will get to know by using CPU utilization or memory utilization. By using this, you can say that how much load you have on the server. Okay, by using CPU utilization and by using memory utilization. So, by specifying these conditions, I will say that okay, at the moment my CPU utilization is 25%. So I am getting certain kind of request. So if something has happened and all of a sudden, if the request count is high and my CPU and memory utilization crosses 80%, that means the load on the server is high. So I need few more instances to distribute that load, to handle that load. Now I will write a condition. If the CPU utilization greater than 80%, then you can add one more instance. One more instance. So once you added one more instance, automatically the 80% load will be shared by one more instance, then it will be reduced to around 70%. It will be reduced to around 70%. For example, if you consider. Yes, but after few minutes, again the 70% reaches to the 80%. Still the load is high. Again, it will add one more instance. Like that, it will add one more instances based on the load till your maximum instances. If I specify maximum as 10 and minimum as 2, what is meant by it? At any point of time, it will run a minimum number of 2 instances. Based on the load, it will increase up to 10 by adding one by one. Okay, it is not straight away upgrading your adding your instances to 10 based on the load, based on the condition. It is adding one by one. Similar scenario, this is for increasing, that is called scale out. Scale out means increasing. And what about decreasing part? Okay, if it is load is high, you are adding one more up to 10 is absolutely fine. What about the load decreases? What about the load down? During that scenario, same, there is one more concept, there is one more condition we will write. Okay, if CPU utilization is 25% or 30 percentage, then what it will do? It will cut down one more resource, cut down one instance. So what it will do with with 10 instance count, for example, it is utilizing 25 percentage. Now it will remove one. Now the count will be 9. Again, it will monitor the CPU utilization with 9 instances. Again, it is 25%. Then it will reduce one more. Like that, it will wait for the 25 percentage. If it is 25 percentage, it will down, or it will, sorry, if it is 30 percentage, it will down one more instance. Till that, how many resources it will, how many instances it will cut down? Up to maximum, it will reaches to the 2. It will reaches to the minimum instance count of 2. Once it is reaches to the 2, it won't work on the removal part. So I already said that at any point of time, I used to maintain two instances. If something is happened with the help of CPU and memory utilization based on the condition, if the CPU and memory reaches to the 70, it will add 1. If the memory and CPU utilization reaches to the 30 percentage, it will remove 1. So this is the concept of automatic scaling. So with that, you don't need to worry about how your code is copying. You don't need to worry about the infrastructure maintenance. You don't need to worry about resource reducing or resource increasing. Everything will be taken care by the virtual machine scale set itself. As we discussed, we are discussing about virtual machine scale set. So as of now, we see for any VM, if you want to increase vertically, that we saw how to resize VM. So in this concept, we know how to increase the size from one particular size to another size. That's called vertical scaling. So that is called vertical scaling, which we already showed you on the VM side. For example, if you have a VM with one virtual CPU, 2 GB RAM, from this configuration, I want to resize my VM to the same VM to 4 virtual CPUs and 8 GB RAM. So this is what we used to call it as vertical scaling. This we saw on the VM, how to resize the VM. And coming to the virtual machine scale set, it's all about horizontal scaling. That means you need to place similar kind of servers horizontally with same configuration. Okay, this is called horizontal scaling. This we talked about, and we'll show you how we can do the horizontal scaling now based on the conditions. Okay, horizontal scaling based on the conditions. This we'll see now. Okay, first of all, we'll go to the portal. Now, search for virtual machine scale set. So you'll get virtual machine scale set here. Click on virtual machine scale sets. So you need to create a virtual machine scale set. Click on create. So once you click on create virtual machine scale set, it will come like this. Now we need to select the respective resource group where you are going to create your virtual machine scale set. And after that, you need to give the virtual machine scale set name. Here I will give my name, but in your real-time environment, there might be one syntax will follow. You need to follow that syntax and which region you want to create. And here you can see that availability zone. So here, if you select East to West, it is giving 3 zones. Okay. If you want your servers hosted in 2 zones, it's absolutely fine. Or hosted in 3 zones, it's absolutely fine. You have to select the respective zones. Okay, so if you don't want to select anything, then that is also fine. Okay, you can see it's not a mandatory one. So it's up to you. For now, I don't want any availability zone. If required, you can simply select these three. That's it. Nothing will change. Based on that, the price will vary. For now, I don't want any infrastructure redundancy required because I'm creating this for testing purpose. Then it's absolutely fine. Based on your environment, you need to select the respective zones. So you can select the 3 zones in your environment. Then your VMSS will be replicated in 3 zones. Next, orchestration. How you are going to orchestrate your virtual machine. For example, it's orchestration mode if you consider. If you consider flexible one, it achieves high availability at scale with identical or multiple virtual machine types. So these are similar, but or you can consider multiple virtual machines type, like not with a single size, not with single type, or you can check better to choose uniform. So basically, every organization they used to prefer uniform model. So it will be for large scale stateless workloads, means large scale environments they used to prefer uniform one. So if it is for normal ones, then you can use flexible. It doesn't vary much enough. I don't think it will be very big difference between these two. You can select any, but in real time environments they used to prefer for uniform mode. And next one is security type. Similarly, for the VM, what you can see, you have a standard, trusted launch, and confidential. You can choose the trusted launch one. Same kind of VM one. And coming to the scaling, this is only will vary. Okay, if you consider the scaling mode, you have a two type of modes. One is manual mode, and second one is auto scaling mode. The scaling which I talked about you, the increase or decrease the virtual machines. So if you consider manual one, what it is saying, maintain a fixed amount of instances. you need to go manually and you need to maintain the instance count. If you say 2, it will run 2 instances. If you say 4, it will run 4 instances. But it won't react dynamically until and unless you go and change this manually. This is about manual setup. And there is one more concept called auto scaling, which we discussed. So auto scaling, if you click on auto scaling, it will ask you for the conditions. So if we click on auto scaling, so scaling configuration. So scaling condition you need to write. Okay, so you need to specify all these things in a scaling policy. So if you click on the scaling configuration, it will take you to the scaling configuration. Okay, here you can configure it, or else after creating the virtual machine scale set, also you can configure the scaling condition. For example, I'm creating, there is one default one, but if you want to create new one, click on add scaling condition. Here it will ask you, for example, the condition name is increase or scale out. Okay, scale out condition I'm writing here. Okay, I'm writing scale out or increase condition. X scale mode is auto scaling. So initially, how many instances you are going to keep? For example, I'm going to keep initially 2 instances. Okay. So instance limit. What is the minimum? Minimum is 2 because I need to maintain 2 instances at any point in time. So what is the maximum instances? For example, maximum instances I used to consider as a 2. So what it is saying, the maximum count of instances this condition will scale up to is 5. So up to 5 instances it will increase. So if you consider as a 10, then it will scale out up to 10 instances. Based on your requirement, you need to select that. Next, scale out condition. Scale out means increasing. When I need to increase. When I need to increase. If CPU threshold greater than 75 percentage. If you written as 75, every time the average CPU usage is greater than 75 percentage, then how many instances you want me to increase? For example, 1. So what it will do? This condition will increase the instant count by 1 instances. Means whenever there is a 75% of the CPU utilization on the virtual machine scale set, then it will try to add one more VM. Minimum is 2. At the moment, it is running 2 instances. If the average of the two virtual machine instances are great 75 percentage of the CPU, then it will add one more. Now the instant count will be 2 plus 1, that is 3. And again, after 3, after you increase one more, then you have the total instance count of 3. Altogether, by average CPU utilization of the all three virtual machines or virtual machine instances are again greater than 75, then it will add one more. Then 3 becomes 4. Up to until how many instances it will increase? Till it reaches to the maximum count. That much it will increase. Next, this is about increase part. What about decrease part? If the CPU threshold is less than 30 percentage, every time the average CPU usage is less than 30 percentage. If let's say you have 5 instances running at the moment, if you average CPU utilization of the 5 instances is less than 30 percentage, then it will cut down the resource by 1. So that 5 become 4. Again, it will validate by combining all the 4 virtual machine instances. The CPU utilization is still 30 percentage. Again, it will reduce 1. Till how many counts it will reduce? Till it reaches to the minimum count, it will reduce the instances one by one. And the query duration, how much time I want to wait to calculate the CPU utilization, not for immediately. For example, if I select 2 minutes, what it sorry 5 minutes is minimum. So if I select 5 minutes, what it will do? For example, the CPU utilization is 30 percentage now. Immediately it won't decrease, it will wait for 5 minutes, it will observe 5 minutes. Okay, I'm observing from the past 5 minutes, I can see that CPU utilization is less than 30% from the past 5 minutes. Okay, then I will decrease one. Similarly, I can observe that the CPU utilization is 75% from the past 5 minutes. Okay, means there is some load. So that's why I can increase one by one instance at a count. Because if you observe the CPU utilization immediately, it will fluctuate actually. It will go to the peak and it will come to the down immediately. So to react without reacting that one, so to set the system without reacting to that kind of fluctuations, it will monitor for 5 minutes. In the 5 minutes, if it is still faces the CPU utilization is still that much, then it will do that. For example, I will show you. If you go to the open the task manager, Here you can see initially it is went to 100 percentage, but see initially it will now within a fraction of second it is coming down. So I don't want to react to this situation. I'll just monitor for 5 minutes. Then I'll get to know what is the average CPU utilization. If you see initially it was 100 percentage. Now if you see it is at roaming around 50 to 56, 57, 50 to 56, 57. So we can confirm that CPU utilization is average. It is consuming 50 to 60 or 61, 62. So this we can analyze based on the time period. So if you react for immediately it will be 100%, but within few seconds it will reduce to. But this is the actual CPU utilization. You need to consider this one. So similarly, so to not react in that kind of situations, you need to maintain the duration. Next one, schedule type. For example, if you want to set this activity throughout 365 days, it's absolutely fine. Or else, this scaling condition will only need to up based on a specific date or based on a specific time. Yes, you can specify the start date or end date. For example, I need to start this on so and so date. I need to end this on so and so date. It's up to you. Okay. And if it is no, I don't want to do it on specific time. I want to repeat it on every Sunday, or I want to repeat this on every Monday. That you can do it. Okay. On particular day, if you want to schedule it on Sunday, so every Sunday it will work on this scaling activity. Okay, it will start the scaling activity on every Sunday. So this way you need to you need to add your scaling condition. If you want, you can remove that exit default one once you created that. Once you created a virtual machine scale set, then you can remove the default condition and you can keep this the condition which you created. Next, predictive auto scaling. So if you enable this predictive auto scaling, what it will do, it will forecast your requirement based on the current scenario. So if you forecast it one, it will tell you. So you set the maximum instant count is 5, but based on my observation, so this is not enough. So you need to increase few more. So it will enable, or based on the forecast, based on the present data what you are getting. So it will enable the forecast. Okay, and the diagnostic logs. If you want to enable the diagnostic logs, it will store your logs to the dedicated location. You need to specify the workspace. Log analytic workspace is there. That concept we will discuss it later. It's a centralized location where you used to keep your logs. Okay, it will send logs to that log analytic workspace. If you click on that, it will show you the available log analytic workspace. If you have any log analytic workspace, it will show you, or else you need to create the log analytic workspace. Then that will be comes under the drop down. So here you are sending your logs. For now, I don't want to send the logs. I can uncheck this. Next one is scale in policy. So okay, this scale in policy, the similarly what we are doing there. In the we have mentioned both conditions in a both scale in or scale out in the same condition itself. That will take care. Okay. For example, if you want to select, okay, I told you one scenario here in the scale out condition, the name and the condition which I have written here, right? Here I have specified one rule here. What I said, increasing, that's absolutely fine. Initially it was 2, and next it is increased 1, next increased 1, next increased 1. So if we consider this scenario, here example, for example, initially it is running with these two instances. Now the load on these two increases. Now I have added one more instance. This is instance number 1. This is instance number 2. Now I have added one more instance based on the load. This is instance number 3. Okay. And next I have added one more instances, that is called instance number 4. Okay. This is about increasing. Okay, fine. It is increased. Now the load is decreased. Now the CPU percentage is less than 30 percentage. Now, so what I have written the condition, please cut down plus please delete one instance. This is the condition I have written. Since my CPU utilization is 30 percentage, so please delete one instance. Now it will ask you, yes, you have 4 servers at the moment. You have 4 instances at the moment. Which instance I want to delete? You want me to delete the recently created one, or you want me to delete the old one? This it will ask you. Anyway, the data and everything is same. So it will ask you, you want me to keep old one and delete the newly created one, or you want me to keep newly created one and delete existing one. So this is the policy. Okay, you need to select that. That is what it is asking. If you go to the scale in policy, you see it is asking there is a default one, balance across zones, then delete VM with highest instance ID. So instance ID is nothing but it will create one instance ID whenever there is an instance created. So what is the latest instance ID, whatever you have, it will balance it and it will delete based on the specific zone you selected. Or or else there is one more option called newest VM. What it will do, whatever the latest VM created, it will delete that latest one. Whatever the oldest one it was there, it will delete the oldest one. So it's up to you. You can select the respective one. It would be better if you select default one, it will take care. Next one is apply force delete to scale in operations. If something is happened while deleting, if some error is there or something is happened, then it will throw error. Do you require that option? Or else I don't want to listen anything. I want to delete forcibly. Okay. During the cut down, if something is it is showing, no, I don't want to listen anything. I want to delete forcibly. Okay. In that scenario, you need to enable this option, apply force delete. That's it. This is about scaling configuration. So once you configure your scaling, you have all the things done. And next one is the same kind of things for the VM. How the VM is created right? Similarly. If you want to create an image, if you want to select the default like Windows or Linux or like that, you can select that. Or else I want to use the shared image. I want to use the VM image. Yes, that also you can see it. You can see the all images there. You can see the gallery. So if you see the default ones provided by the Microsoft, or if you remember last time we created one virtual machine and we try to capture the VM for the virtual machine and we try to send that VM image to the shared gallery. That you can see it under shared images or my images. Here you can see the gallery and there you can see your things. Okay, so I don't want to use my own. I want to go to the marketplace. You can select the respective images available in the market, like Windows or Linux or everything. Or if you want to select your images, whatever you uploaded to the shared gallery, that you can see it under my images or shared images. It's up to you based on your organization. And same architecture like VM you selected, and the size you can select, and same username you need to provide. For example, I'll provide username as Azure user and I'll give the name password. Okay, and the password. So I have given the password. And the next one is this basic step is completed. Now I'll go for the Spark part. What is meant by Spark? Similarly, I discussed about last time also while the VM creation. If you selected certain stage, certain size here, like one virtual CPU or 8 GB memory, but at the moment you are utilizing only 4 GB memory. Rest of the 4 GB memory, it will allocate to some other people and it will give you some kind of discount. If you want that option, you can select the Azure Spot instances. If you don't want that option, just leave it as it is. But organizations, they won't prefer to utilize the spot. They won't utilize. Okay. So I don't want to use the spot discount. Then you can simply uncheck it. That's it. These were grayed out. These options were grayed out. Next one is disk part. So coming to the same like virtual machine, if you want to attach any kind of disks or everything, that you can select the respective disk, what kind of disk you require, SSD, standard or premium one or HDD, or whatever the size it is giving 127. No, I don't want 127, I want more. Yes, you can select the respective size for your operating system drive. And then if you want to encrypt that drive, you have any key, then you can use customer managed key, or else you can use the default platform managed key. And then data disk, if you want to add the drive, E drive, F drive, or anything, then you can add that existing disks. That's it. So these are also related to the disk part. So these are default options. This is absolutely fine. You can ignore them. And then that is about disk part, adding disk to the virtual machine scale set. And coming to the networking part, if you want to keep this virtual machine scale set in a private network zone, then you need to add it in the networking. Okay, come to here, you need to select the respective virtual network. Which virtual network? I have a virtual network created, so I am selecting that respective virtual network. Then it will ask you the network interface. So it will create by default one network interface for that virtual machine scale set. Okay, it will be located under the same subnet. Well, there is one subnet, right? Under that subnet of that particular virtual network. And next, load balancing. I don't want to put any load balancer additionally. So I want to utilize the functionality of the virtual machine scale set only. So I'll tell you what is meant by this load balancer and application gateway later. Then I will show you how to add this virtual machine scale set to an existing load balancer. Similarly for the VM also, how to add the VM to the load balancer while creating itself. That I will show you. At the moment, I don't want to utilize any load balancer functionality. I want to create a virtual machine scale set and I want to maintain certain instances, whatever I have specified. That's it. This is completed. Next one is management. So this part, for example, if you are using based on your subscription, it will by default enable Microsoft Defender for Cloud, which we already discussed. This is clearly for if there is any vulnerabilities, anything suspicious on your virtual machine scale set, it will show you, it will give you the recommendations along with remediations. So based on the remediations, you can fix that. And next one is upgrade mode. How you are going to upgrade your virtual machine scale set. Okay. If you want to go for manual, automatically existing instances must be manually upgraded. For example, I have a two instances. So for example, I have a two instance. So if I want to upgrade them, for example, whatever the image I am utilizing Windows 2022, and later I want to upgrade it to Windows 2024 or Windows 19 to Windows 2022 or Windows 16 to Windows 2019 or your previous image to latest image. If you want to upgrade, if you set manual approach, then for each instance, you need to go and you need to manually upgrade. That is for manual approach. Or else automatic. Instance will start upgrading immediately in a random order. So if you select automatic, what it will do in a random order? First it will upgrade this one, and then it will upgrade this one, and then it will upgrade this one by one. It's a random order. It will start upgrading. It will take care. If you select rolling, then what will happen with the rolling updates? Okay. For example, I have a four instances. Then I will select at any point of time only two instances will go for update. Two instance will go for update. During this time, remaining things are available. Okay, so like the batch wise, you can upgrade so that we don't have any issue with the availability, or we don't need downtime. So if you see the rolling model, what it is saying, rolling upgrade batch size. For example, 20. That means 20 instances will go, 20 percentage of the instances will go for update. Okay, for example, I have a five instances in 20 percentage. It means I have one instances will go at one time. For example, I have 100 instances. Only 20 servers will go, or 20 instances will go for update. Remaining 80% of the load or remaining 80 instances will be up and running. That size you can select it. Next, pause time between batches. For example, this batch is completed and I need to start one more batch. So how much time I need to wait? That is called pause time. So you need to specify the pause time. And next, maximum unhealthy instances. How many, for example, if you are doing some upgrades or anything, so what is the allowable limit for unhealthy one? Okay. What is the maximum allowable limit to allow the unhealthy instances to make upgrade? For example, this VM is facing any issues. That means it is unhealthy, but still, I want to upgrade it. Still I want to upgrade it. I want to upgrade the image. I will look into that VM later. I will look into that LD condition later, but still I want to upgrade that VM instance. In that scenario, you need to select these two options. Maximum unhealthy instances, how much I want to keep, and maximum unhealthy instances, which I want to allow for upgradation. That's it. If you want to prioritize unhealthy instances, then first it will prioritize. First it will check for unhealthy instances. First it will upgrade them. First, it will upgrade unhealthy instances. That is, if you are enabling cross-zone upgrade, it's absolutely fine, but this option is not recommendable. Okay, because if you set your virtual machine scale sets in three zones, then if you select if you then you will get this option. Then you can select this option so that zone wise it will start upgrading. The same conditions will take care. It will calculate in the zone wise and it will start upgrading them. This is about upgrade policy. So if you have a large organization, you have a production loads running, preferable option is rolling one. Or else you can select manual, or else you can select automatic. Anything is fine. Next, monitoring part. If you want to monitor your virtual machine scale set for kind of any errors like boot errors or any kind of errors, then you need to enable the boot diagnostics. Okay, if you enable with manage storage account, it will send to the default storage account. Or else I need my storage account, you can enable this my storage account, custom storage account, you need to provide your storage account name. Or if you don't want any boot diagnostics, then you can set it as disable. When this boot diagnostic will be helpful, if something is happened to a VM, Okay, during that time to analyze, to troubleshoot, this board diagnostics will be helpful. Okay, next, enable notification for instance termination. For example, I'm cutting down one instance. I'm cutting down one instance. During that time, you want to get notified by mail that so I applied based on the scaling condition. The CPU utilization is less than this much percentage. So I'm cutting down this instance. So this instance is going to delete right now. So during that notification, if you want to get, then if you enable this option, it will ask you that details. There is a policy. So based on that policy, it will notify you whoever the owner of the virtual machine scale set, then it will notify. Okay. And next, same for re-image also. Whenever you are upgrading your image or anything, if you want to enable this, you can enable it. Next one is identity part. This we will discuss whenever we are discussing about rollback or Active Directory. We'll think about the identity. And if you want to log in with whatever the user you logged with portal.azure.com, so if you want to enable it, you can enable it. And that's it. If you want to over provisioning the virtual machine scale set, then it will provide more virtual machine scale instances. For example, in the scale out policy, what we have specified, the maximum instance count I was set to 5 only. So still the load is increasing. Still I want to increase. Then if you check this option enable over provisioning, then it will go beyond 5. Okay. Or else if you uncheck, although it is more than 70 percentage, it will reaches to the 5 maximum instance count, whatever we specified in previous, it will reaches to that stage and it will stop. That's it. Regarding the OS updates, again we have the option automatic, manual, all this stuff. Based on the OS upgrade option you have selected, it will upgrade. For now, better to uncheck it. So anyway, we are taking care of the upgrades manually, so we will take care. That's it. Next one is health part. So if you want to configure any health monitoring for this virtual machine scale set, then you need to configure it. By defaultly, it will monitor this path with slash, or you dedicatedly configure or created any page inside that VM, then you can hit that particular page that you can configure. At the moment, it is slash, or if you configure health.aspx or health.html, any page you configured, you created under the VM, then it will try to hit that page. If you get the response, then it feels that the VM is healthy. So you can configure it the path later also. It's up to you which path I want to monitor and which port I want to monitor. All this stuff you can configure it. And next one is recovery. So what about the recovery? If you want to enable automatic repairs, you can enable it. What it will do? It will replace the image, or it will replace that VM, or it will restart that VM, or it will re-image the VM. There is three options in the automatic repairs. For example, I have one virtual machine case set created with certain image. So if something is happened, you want me to restart that particular instance or particular VM, or you want to re-image them, or you want to replace one and create new one. So these are the options available. Based on the options, you need to select. So how much time I need to wait? The 10 minutes. So it will wait for 10 minutes and it will restart it. That's it. And then advanced, if you have to install any, what I can say, if you want to install any extensions or applications on the VMSS, that you can instances, you can add it from here. Coming to the allocation policy, how I want to allocate it. Okay, so maximum spreading or fixed spreading. Okay, so it's if it is a fixed spreading, it will consider the fault domain count, like what we discussed in the availability set. So for example, it will keep spreading the instances based on the fault domain count. For example, I said there is a 70% high, and I want to increase the virtual machine scale set by two more instances, or three more instances, or four more instances. How I need to set up them in the data center. So there are the racks. How I want to spread the newly created ones. If you select file domain as 2, and if you want to increase the count by 3, then what it will do? The first two instances, it will put it under one rack, and the third one, it will keep it in one more rack. So based on the fault domain you specified. So it will split it. Or else, if you go for maximum spreading, it will take care of everything. You don't need to worry about it. So specify the max spreading, it will take care. And if you want to install any extensions, you can install it. Or if you want to install any applications, you can install it. Or if you want to run any query or anything, that you can write it here. That's it. And then if you want to add this virtual machine scale set to your organization group, if you have any existing organization group created, you can add this virtual machine scale set to that group. That's it. This proximity placement group is not required, and this is also not required. That's it. And next one is tags. Tags is for identification purpose. If you want to see for who created it, created by, you can specify your name, and you can specify the environment for which environment I have created this. Okay, you can specify your environment. And for which purpose I created this, you can specify the purpose, or which application it is running inside it. You can specify the application name. So based on your requirement, you can specify your tags. And the next review, and the next create. But tags I have not provided the values. I need to provide the values. I think it will throw you some validation issue on the tags part. Let's see. It is reviewing. Now the validation is completed. Now when you click on create, it starts creating. So the creation is going on. Meanwhile, you just remember, whenever you are enabling automatic scaling, please keep a note of it, because I'll tell you one scenario. For example, there is a virtual machine scale set which is running with two instances, which is running with two instances. If, see, basically the CPU utilization, when there will be increase in the CPU utilization, when there is load, then automatically the CPU will increase. Load might be two types. One is the request flow, means request hits. You request or hits, you can consider anything. So if you receive more number of hits to the server, automatically the load will be increased. But there might be some scenarios where your application also stops working or hang. During that time also, the CPU utilization will goes high. But in that scenario, your application is hanged here. You are not resolving that issue, but you are enabling automatic upgrade. You are enabling automatic upgrade, then automatic scaling. Then what it will do? Your application is hanged. That is not because of the request or hits. Something is happened. Your application is clogged, or your application is having issue. But still, it will take your instance count to your maximum. It will increase one more, one more, one more, one more till maximum. But until and unless that application is hanged and that is resolved, for example, you are running an SQL or anything, and that kind of deadlock is happened on the SQL server. So in that scenario, it will keep your instance count reaches to the maximum. Until and unless you fix that issue, it will increasing the issues. It will increasing the instance count to the maximum. So it costs you. It costs you more. Whenever you have maximum number of instances count, it will cost you more. So that is the reason, be cautious whenever you are selecting your automatic scaling. Check with your architect, check with your organization policy, and then you can decide you need to go for automatic scaling or you'll go for manual scaling. That you need to keep it in mind. Okay, so our virtual machine scale set is completed now. Let's go and review it. Now we can see the VMSS created. See it again in the overview, we see the options, which resource group it is, how many instances it has, which location, subscription ID, what is the operating system and its size. See, I have not enabled public IP. So I have only private IP enabled. So I'll show you what are the private IPs is. So these are the subnet we have, and the orchestration mode and time we created and all this stuff. So if you want to restart the entire virtual machine scale set, you can restart it. If you want to stop it, you can stop it. If you want to re-image this virtual machine scale set, then whatever the instances running inside the virtual machine scale set all gets re-imaged. Okay. And if you want to delete, you can delete. Next one is activity logs. Whoever performed any activity on the virtual machine scale set from the portal, so you will see that. And active access control, if you want to provide any person or any resource access on this particular virtual machine scale set, you can provide access from here. This we will discuss when we are talking about Active Directory and role-based access control. In the tags part, what are the tags you have created, the tags will be shown here. If you want to add few more tags, you can add them. And diagnose and solve problems. If there is any issue on the virtual machine scale set, it will try to diagnose it, it will try to troubleshoot it, it will show you the remediations and everything. And coming to the instances, I said two instances, so two instances will be created. You can see The healthy status is unhealthy because I have not hosted any application on the VM. That is the reason at the moment it is showing unhealthy. So when you hosted any application and you given that path to monitor, then it will show you healthy. Okay, that is about instances. So if you go to any instances, you click on instances, so it will take you this scenario, take you this instance part. At the moment, it is running the location in the provisioning state and the SKU it is running, the size it is running, the IP address if you see, this is the IP address. Okay, and this is the healthy state. And if you try to connect it, click on connect. So I need to connect that by using batch chain. If it is public IP, you can connect it directly, but I don't have public IP, right? So I need to connect by using batch chain. Okay, so I want to use the batch chain. So if you see, you have a batch chain here. So click on a bastion. If you already configured your bastion with the hub network, it will show you the bastion here. So if you don't know how to configure the bastion, you can refer the video which we created the bastion with VM, so that you can refer it. So I have the existing bastion. So I want to connect this particular VMSS instance by using this bastion. So just provide this one. Just provide the username. What is the user you have utilized, and just give the password, and then click on connect so that it will go and connect that virtual machine scale set instance. Okay, so this way you will connect the virtual machine scale set instance with private IP enabled instance. This way you can connect. You can see now it was created. You can able to connect that instance. So this way you can create your virtual machine scale set with private network, and you can connect that virtual machine scale set instance by using the bastion. So if you observe this virtual machine scale set, I don't have the public IP enabled. I still have the private IP only, but still I can able to access that private IP enabled server from your network by using bastion. Okay, this way you can connect it and you can control it. So you can control that instance. If you want to stop only specific instance, you come here, you can restart, you can stop, or if you want to reimage this one only, you can reimage it. You can see the networking, which network it was there. And if you want to add any load balancers, that you can add the load balancer. You can see the NSE created, you can see the IP address and everything. If you want to configure the load balancing, that you can configure it. If you want to add this to the application security group for this network interface, that you can add it. But by default, it will be created. Okay, if you want to manage your network, if you want to connect to the device or anything, that you can connect using this network manager. And remaining settings, what are the disks attached to this particular instance, that will show you. At the moment there is only one disk, that is 127 GB. If you want to add it data disk, you can add it to the specific instance. The next one is monitoring part, which we need to discuss, and then support and troubleshooting. If you want to create any support ticket and everything, that you can create it. Okay, that's about instances part. Similarly, networking for overall virtual machine scale set, the same options, whatever you see in the instances, the same options will get it under here. Same for settings as well. So if you want to enable disk, so if you add a disk here, that disk will be added to the all uh, instances. You can access that disk from the all instances. And if you want to add any extensions, that you can add it from here itself. If you want to add any applications, that you can add it from here itself. You can see the operating system, which is the operating system, and what is the image we have utilized 2016 or anything, that you can choose it. And if you have any licensing, you can select the yes, and you can use that licensing option. And if you want to add any custom data to that particular one, then that you can add it, that I already showed you while creating itself. And you can see the configurations and everything, what we configured, monitoring disabled or not, and notifications enabled or not, over provisioning enabled or not, that configurations you can see. And properties also we can see what are the properties it has. And the most important part in the virtual machine scale set is scaling and size. So if we come to the scaling, again here the same options you can see. If you want to go for manual scale, you can select it. If you want to go for automation scale, you can go for automatic scale. So here you can specify the conditions and everything. So based on the conditions, it will start upgrading, scaling out and scaling down. Okay, the same options, whatever you can see in the while creation itself. Now, if you want to resize, I want to increase the virtual machine scale set size of each instance from one virtual CPU 8 GB RAM to two virtual CPU 16 GB RAM, and select the respective size and resize it so that each instance under this virtual machine scale set will be resized from one particular size to another particular size which you selected. This is about resizing. This is about scaling. You can utilize both the options. It's up to you. If I want to increase the instance count, then it's absolutely fine. Or if you want to increase each instance size, that you can increase it. It's absolutely fine. So these are the two options available. You can choose any other option. And security, this we will discuss about identity part. This we will discuss about while discussing about rollback or Active Directory integration. And Defender for cloud, which I already discussed. If there is any issues on the particular virtual machine scale set, that it will show you any recommendations or anything, any security alerts on that one. And coming to the operations part, this is also very important. If you want to update your virtual machine scale set with an image, for example, there is a latest update from the Windows. If you want to update that you can do it from here itself. You can start your OS upgrade. Coming to the next important one, upgrade policy, which I have selected, right? So at the moment I have choose rolling one, or else if you can choose manual or you can choose automatic. That option we can change it under this upgrade policy. And health and repair. If something has happened, you want me to reboot or replace. So that option we already showed you that you can do it here, and health monitoring purpose. So if you want to monitor a specific page, that page you can give it under which port I want to monitor, HTTP or HTTPS or any custom port you have, you can use TCP. The custom port you can specify. Okay. So for example, I want to monitor using HTTPS, you can monitor it. The port you need to update it to 443 and you can put the path. It's up to you. And if just I want to use the TCP port itself, then you can use TCP. The port you can specify which port I want to monitor. And next recovery part, as I told you, automatic repairs is enabled, and I set the policy as restart. Okay. And then next, if you want to update it, just uncheck this option, and then it won't do anything. You need to take care manually. So now if you want to choose this option, then you have to select the automatic repairs. This option you can't change it later. So while creating itself, you need to decide. And monitoring part, this we need to discuss. This is pending. So that's about virtual machine scale set. I showed you how to create, and I showed you how to increase it, and I showed you how to scale in or scale out based on the condition. You can specify it. If it is custom one, you come here, you can increase this 2 to 20, 2 to 40, 2 to 5. It's up to you if it is manual. Or if it is custom one, you can increase the policy. Same in the policy itself. Okay, you have the policy here. So I want to keep the maximum as 10. You can keep it. I want to increase by 1 or 2. You can decide here. You can increase it or decrease it based on your CPU and memory utilization and everything. Okay, it will show you how much CPU it is at the moment utilizing. And you set the bracket as here. You can see this dashes. This is the threshold you have specified. But currently it was here. So it will show you the graphical representation also. Okay, you can specify it. The same options I showed you while creating itself, the same options you will get it. That's it about virtual machine scale set.